Well, hello there. Glad to see you. Glad you can make it. What was I doing? Looking at those Druid Wisdom cards that Rufus dropped off. They're very nice. Quite colourful. But, I thought I would draw another set today. Another card. He said that sometimes messages are sent to some unsuspecting person, whether they realize it or not. So, anyways, with that said, why don't we go ahead and pull a card. And the card we're going to pull today is Long Hidden Friend. Well, in druidical terms, if you had a lodestone, that would be your friend to find the path that you so seek, or at least guide you. Put those aside for now. But those who do not follow the use of stones in their lives, quartz, tourmaline, and such, well, then perhaps it's for someone, you perhaps, to let you know that a friend, a long-lost friend that you have not seen in a while, will come by and help you. Perhaps it's a question you need answering. Perhaps it's a choice. Or perhaps there's just a path that you need assistance on, and that friend will help you, and then off they go. Interpretation. That's what the druid says. But anyways, with that said, let's have something to drink. Vincent, are you around? Vincent?
Yeah, boss. Hang on. Jeez, I'm never gonna have time to get these t-shirts printed out. Here I am. What do you need? Don't tell me.
There you are.
Mead.
Yes. I'm not that predictable, Vincent. But yes, please, for the guest and I swear it's that gnomish ears. They can hear a mile away.
I heard that.
Anyways, story-wise, let's get back to where we left off. Where were we? Oh, yes. They'd ended the night with Rufus having his special mead, the healing kind, and Elrond was deciding best plan of action to head to Jacob's farm. Is that the best thing to do? Well, I will tell you the tale. As sounds of the night float in on a cozy breeze, Baldwin lays on his side looking at an empty pillow. Too many memories, too many soft whispers, and too many unspoken nights where words were not necessary. Sitting up, wiping away tears and swinging his legs to the floor, looking out to the moonlit farm, he replays the evening past as Elrond laid out the plan to approach Jacob's farm. Baldwin decides his next move, and sparing the lives of the closest to him is a top priority. He knows the Dark Queen has a plan, or a plan for him, but do her followers, do they know of it? Are they privy to such things, or do they act out on their own accord? Do they presume to know and understand the actions of a god? Baldwin sure doesn't, but that isn't going to stop him from wreaking havoc within their world. Didn't she say he was chaos or something like that? Putting Sylvia's ring around his neck, Baldwin quietly gets dressed and belts on Jacob's hunting knife. Then, crouching to pick up the sword that Elrond gave him, he whispers to Jasper.
Okay, Jasper, we're heading out, but you need to be quiet. No barking, no whining.
Swishing his tail, Jasper licks Baldwin's hand as he pets him.
Good boy. Okay. Shh.
Standing up, Baldwin goes to the bedroom door. Stopping, he leans his ear against it. On the other side, you can hear Rufus snoring. How Talon can sleep through that, one can only know. Lifting the hatch quietly, he slips out into the main living area, where he can see the ranger and druid sleeping by the hearth. Looking for Elrond and Tana, he remembers that they like sleeping on the front porch. So, motioning to Jasper to follow, Baldwin quietly heads to the back door, and as luck would have it, he's able to open it this time without the hinge making a squeak. Closing the door behind him, He heads to the back of the barn, taking the long way, so not to be seen by the elves, if either one happens to be awake. After a few minutes, he's at the back of the barn, and lifting the door a bit while opening it, pausing just because one particular hinge makes a noise. Stopping and listening for a moment, he hears only the gentle murmurs of the animals within. Slipping in with Jasper, he stays to the back wall and stops in front of the 2 bales of hay stacked to the right. Moving them aside reveals a wide floorboard with one showing a hole from an old tree knot that popped out long ago. Slipping a finger into the hole, he pulls up the board, where a bundle of ragged cloth lays underneath. Scooping his hand under, Baldwin lifts the cloth-wrapped items out and lays it on the floor before him. He never thought he would ever use these items again. He thought his days from the territory wars were long over. But here he was, looking at his past and wondering if he was the same man now versus those years ago. Slowly pulling the cloth back, Baldwin looks upon the sword in its scabbard, and sliding the weapon out, looks at its wonder as the edge is unblemished, despite the years in the moist hole. Turning the blade so it catches the moonlight, elven glyphs start to appear. Back then, he was a brash youth who used his stature and strength to reach any mean. Alas, the reason why he lived to marry Sylvia, and the elf that day did not. The dwarves with him that day said he killed a high elf. It was either him or the enemy. And what if it was Elrin that day? Was he even there during the war? Sighing, Baldwin sheathes the sword and retrieves the remaining items. A single bandolier of throwing knives, of which they definitely will need a cleaning and sharpening, and a pair of bronze armbands, again etched with elven marks. Putting the cloth back into the hole, along with resetting the board, Baldwin moves the hay back. Then, scuffing the dirt around, he looks to ensure nothing is out of the ordinary. Satisfied, he motions to Jasper to follow, and out the back door whence they came.
Are you going somewhere? Great Zeus, Elrin. Are you trying to see if a heart attack can kill me? Not, my friend. But again, I ask, are you going somewhere? Truth be told, I was hoping to spare you all. Why should you each want to risk your lives on my cause? Because we are your friends, and despite your eternal life, we wish to ensure that whatever time we have in this world, with you that is, it is one of camaraderie and companionship.
Pausing a moment, as he puts his hand on his shoulder, Baldwin responds,
Thank you, Elrin. I think you forget that elves do not sleep. Thus Tana and I told you when you left their house. So, I ask, where are you planning on going? To Jacob's. And yes, I know the darkness works in their favor, but they are no longer dealing with a simple farmer.
Nay, instead it'll see a stubborn mule.
For God's sake, is everyone here?
Not yet. Tana's prepping the horses, and Rufus is getting some items for spells he might use.
So, we are all going then? Did I not say we are all in this together?
Aye, and by the time we get to Jacob's, it'll be early dawn. Not perfect, but better than the wholeness of night.
and as the group saddles their horses and preps for their ride, Baldwin looks to each of them. Less than a year ago, he knew them not, but here, now, they stood by his side, willing to risk their lives for him, someone who actually has nothing to lose. A painted guilt washes over him. Damn this curse, he thinks. It was bad enough that he lost his child and wife, but now he will lose his friends, if not today, then to old age. Unless he gets the attention of the Dark Elf Queen, then he can end this living and be with his family.
Baldwin, are you ready?
Nodding as he climbs onto his horse, the group gathers together, each giving the other the most slightest of nods. And then, Baldwin has taken the lead. Jacob's farm peeks through the bushes the 5 hide behind. With the horses a half a mile back, along with a reluctant Jasper, the group, as a single file, led by Rufus, hiked quietly to a spot where they could assess the situation. Well, at least assess as one can when dealing with dark elves.
What is Rufus doing?
He's trying to sense any wards the elves would have set.
For the next 15 minutes, everyone is silent as Rufus holds a bit of mistletoe along with a piece of clear quartz, gently swaying, his arms extended out towards the building. Then, with his eyes still closed, he palms the quartz crystal into his left hand with the mistletoe and reaches into an unseen pocket, pulling out an 8-inch rod of tourmaline. Automatically, crackling blue light appears in front of Rufus and begins to be drawn into the crystal rod, and as quickly as it appeared, it is gone.
Okay, the first obstacle is down. Of course, now they know we're here.
Yes, but less dark magic in the air is much, much better.
Aye, and now for the hardest part.
What's that?
To approach without being picked off. Know the poison bolts as well as the magic will be thrown at us before we get within 100 feet of the house.
Poison bolts.
Aye.
You mean to tell me the bolt that pierced my chest was poisoned?
Clapping Baldwin's shoulder, Elrin replies,
Yes, but since you cannot die, what is there to worry about?
As Baldwin looks at Elrin with shock, Talon adds,
Though you may still feel their effects sometime. Depends on how much poison is on the tip, and of course how many times you get hit.
But before Baldwin can reply, Rufus is motioning to all.
Okay, here we go. And no one will be here. Baldwin, you are going to go first, and then we will follow behind you, with Rufus in the rear, as he'll be concentrating on spells to protect us.
Anxious to see this end, Baldwin takes a step when Talon reaches for his arm.
My friend, remember who goes with you. Remember who we are, and understand why we're here. Focus. Do not become reckless, okay?
Baldwin looks at Talon, then to the rest of his friends. Yes, his friends, and he cannot let any of them die for this cause. His cause.
Yes. Yes, I will.
And with that, Baldwin is walking with a purpose to a farmhouse that is over 200 feet away, to where it all began, and hopefully where it will all end, at least for him. As Baldwin leaves the safety of the bushes, across the wild flowers to the dirt road, leading to the front porch, sounds of bolts fly by as if misdirected. Hesitating but for a moment, Baldwin asks over his shoulder,
Is this Rufus magic?
Aye, and hopefully it'll hold till we get to the house. Meaning, you could walk a wee bit faster.
Picking up pace with long strides, Baldwin can barely see figures in the windows as more bolts fly past his head. Then, the strides are turning into a jog. In the last 50 feet, he is now running straight into the closed door. But before he can start to lean into it with all his might, the door implodes, causing yells and screams from within. Not stopping his run, Baldwin leaps into the doorway as the first rays of sunlight peer over the horizon. Within seconds, 2 dark elves are pressing in for their attack, longswords eager to taste blood. Twisting his body right, Baldwin blocks the sword to his right while using Jacob's dagger to parry the elf to his left. Feinting a stab to his right, he moves faster than expected and instead spins to his left, carrying the parried blade wide while bringing his elven sword across the belly of the elf, its magic-enhanced edge slicing through the armor worn under the garments along with flesh, spilling intestines onto the floor. As the elf falls backwards, shock in its eyes, Baldwin is already taking a step forward and spinning back to his right to block a slash aimed for his shoulder. Again, moving at an unnatural speed, Baldwin takes 2 short steps, going into the elf's face, forcing the Dark One's right arm across his chest, which then allows Baldwin to slide Jacob's dagger into his ribcage. With blood gurgling from his mouth, the elf mouths the word, "How?" But right then, pain erupts in Baldwin's upper back. Ducking and turning around, there stands 15 feet away the dark elf who shot at him before, as she reloads her crossbolt. As she lifts and fires, the flat of Baldwin's blade flashes up, deflecting the shot. Frustration appears on her face as she looks to unsheath her sword. However, as fast as she is, by the time she brings the sword up to attack, Baldwin has whipped 3 throwing daggers, the third fatally protruding from her neck. Ignoring the heat and pain, Baldwin looks to assess, but before he can get a grip on where everyone is, 2 more dark elves attack, one leaping across Jacob's kitchen table, dirk in each hand, and the other is throwing a footstool at him while running behind the throw, a longsword aimed for his chest. Taking advantage of his quickness, Baldwin surprises the airborne elf by catching him and then tossing him backwards into the oncoming blade. A scream of pain erupts from the elf as the sword pops out the front of his chest, pulling the hilt out of the hand of the other elf as the body hits the ground. A myriad of expressions flash across the standing elf before he reaches for his belted dirk. And before Baldwin can take a step forward to beat him, 3 more bolts hit him. 2 into his back, the third into his right leg. And this time, he can feel the poison Talon spoke of. Trying to ignore the effects, he manages to take 1 step forward, but it is slow, as if his body refuses to move, during which the dark elf across from him has come into his personal space, stabbing him in the chest. With glee in his eyes, the elf leans his face into Baldwin's while twisting the dirk. Hot pain flashes all over Baldwin, and grunting through it all, he smacks his forehead into the elf's face, creating a nose-crunching sound. Releasing the weapon, the elf staggers back, dazed, blood dripping from his nose. Baldwin pulls the long, slim dagger from his chest and takes a huge gasp at air as his body reacts by self-healing the fatal wound. Again, he tries to finish off this dark elf, intent on using the creature's own weapon against it. Yet, a sharp pain shoots across his lower back, and this time, the magnitude of the poison hits him. Lunging forward, trying to stab the dazed elf, the last thing Baldwin sees is the floor meeting his face. Okay, I think that's where we're going to leave it for right now. I have another meeting I need to attend to. This one is with Mira, the chromancer. We have an ongoing discussion about, does time get affected when one knows what's going to happen ahead of time? How would you know that? Well, with the use of oracle cards and astrology, one could say they know the future. But can a chromancer change that? It'll be up for debate. Anyways, thank you. And hopefully, in about 2 weeks' time, we will continue with our story. Though, just to let you know, I will be at King Richard's Fair. Not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. I believe on a Saturday. The Unicorn and I shall be there. So I hope to see you there, if you're so inclined. Until then, you be safe.